down soon. Welcome back to Preseason Prep with me. We are covering the box call today. The box call is really easy to use for a beginner. If you're going to start turkey hunting, then start with the box call. Get a good box call. I think the most important portion of this whole video is keeping your cadence the same. And I'll show you what I mean. All right. Every hen out there, like you'll be up, if you're in a really good turkey zone and you are close to hens, just listen to them in like the March time frame, February, March. Get out to the woods and just go listen to hens talk, because it's amazing. It's amazing how you can sort of start figuring out what the sounds mean and how they are communicating back and forth. And that's what you need to try to mimic as a turkey hunter. You want to be the hen that is the boss. And you can tell out in the mornings which hen is the boss, because she's usually the mouthiest. And as soon as she hits the ground, she's yapping. And what she's trying to do is she's trying to get all these other turkeys to come to her, and just hang out. And that's why she's yelping like that. But cadence, that's what you need to, that's your study material until turkey season starts, is get in the woods and just go find some hens and go listen to them in the mornings or in the evenings. And you'll be surprised what you hear. Box call, real simple to use. Cadence is important. So whenever you start, I use box calls a little differently. I hold the main portion upwards and I hold the lid. Okay. You can do it the other way too, right? You just watch where you hold the box and just keep minimum pressure on the lid. All right. So we'll start off with the hand, just like so. Fingers pinched. Okay, and that's how you hold it the regular way. If you're going to do it opposite, like weirdo me, you hold the box up and the lid, you hold it, I sort of scissor it, right? Or you can put your finger up here. For this way, I think it sounds better for some reason. I don't know. I just done it like this for so long. Okay. All right. So this way, pinched, frequency, pressure. That's what we're looking for. You want to start off slow. It's all about the cadence. Okay. What I'm doing, I'm just barely moving the lid back and forth. And the deeper in tone that you get, the more you're going to have to play with the lid. All right, so let's start off slow again. Cadence. A basic yelp is 8 notes, okay? Okay, something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's anywhere from 6 to 8 notes, maybe. That's just the basic yelp. And all you got to do is keep the cadence the same. And then you can start playing with the tone and how high pitched or low pitched you want to make it. And that's all about pressure of the lid. Now, the more you go into the box, it's going to sound more raspy. And it's because of the carving that's in the actual box. That's why it makes it sound like that. Now, keep in mind, whenever you go that deep, it's fine, because that's what a boss hen is supposed to sound like. Same cadence, right? But you can slow it up and slow it down at the beginning, middle, or end. So you like slow it down at the very end, or you can speed it up in the middle. You know, you can play with it, because if you go out and you listen to these hens in the morning and the evenings, that's what you'll hear. You'll hear yelp, 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 yelp. And you'll hear that back and forth. So keep that in mind with your yelps. If you just go around the woods doing this, you probably get them to gobble, no doubt. You just, that's not what real hens sound like. I mean, and trust me, I've heard people do that. I'll walk over to them like, hey, chill out, man, because I don't think they're going to come to you. But who knows, you know? Seen weird stuff happen. Anyway, keep that cadence the same. That's about the cadence you want to be at. That's your basic yelp, okay? Let's pause there and we'll get to a next call. So I hope I explained how to properly yelp clearly and concisely, because I can't stress enough how the cadence is everything in a yelp. So just make it the same with a little bit of variation. And it's a lot easier to do it on a mouth call for me than it is a box call. So just remember, cadence is everything. So let's go on to cutting on a box call. For me, all I do is I will put my hand and I will rest it on the side of the call. Okay? And I'll let the lid just sort of rest on the box here. And all I do is I can just tap. So again, let's see if I can show you. Just rest your hand, this meaty portion of your hand on the box, and then let the lid do the work. This is where chalk comes into play. Right. So just rest it, and then you can tap. Okay. You can. That's like a cluck, right? Okay. Now, how do I change the sound of my cutting or cluck? All I do is I'll just relax that muscle on my hand. It's really hard doing this self. So I'll just relax my hand a little bit. It goes deeper, or if I sort of push my hand down a little bit on the call. And then, so you can start high and then you go low by relaxing your hand. That's sort of my hand relaxed, but if I tighten it up, all right, that's the gist of it, right? So you want a cutting turkey, a cutting hen. She's either number one, she's mad, or she's excited. So that is my technique on cutting. To me, that sounds like a cutting hen. I think I like the louder, the higher tone ones. And if I relax my hand or tighten my hand, it'll make different pitches and sounds. To me, that sounds like a cutting hen. The other way, I just can't do it that way. Some people can do it that way. It just depends. You try both and see which one sounds the best to you. But that's my version of the cutting hen. And then you can relax your hand, take the box, and do some yelps. And then get in that cutting position again, or cluck. And the faster you go, that's the cut. Okay, and that's how I do it. So practice both. Okay, so we've done the yelp, done cluck and purr on a box call. I think the next one is the purr. For any kind of scenario where you're trying to close the gap and you're too close to move because you're afraid the turkey is maybe right around the next bend or on the other side of the cedar, you just need him to come look for you in the last final stretch. And you got some vegetation in the way, so what do? If he ain't budging, I've had this scenario happen to me. If he ain't budging, the best thing to do is either purr or just stop calling. If you're going to use the purr, if you are getting frustrated and he's not coming, if you want to purr on a box call, you got to find the sweet spot. And on this one, there's a sweet spot. And you just have to be real gentle and very light with the pressure. And it sounds like a purr to me, but it's not as accurate as I can get on like a slate or a mouth call. Something like that, right? Like something real light where it's gonna entice that gobbler to come in for that final 20 to 30 yards that you need him to come. And you don't want to be too loud, because you got to think, as a turkey hunter, you're trying to reverse the natural biology of a wild turkey. Gobblers gobble in the morning to say, hey, girls, here I am, come to me. Whereas we as turkey hunters are trying to convince that gobbler to come to us, right? And that's the trick. So if you're in the right place and you're talking the right talk, he will come looking for you. Most of the times hens will be yapping, and then you'll hear a gobbler. And if you're in between those two, and you're talking the sweet talk that we've been talking about now, and you're not too aggressive with it, he's going to come looking. You need to be ready. So just keep that in mind. You as a turkey hunter are there to reverse the natural order, okay? Whereas in their world, he's gobbling to say that you as a turkey hunter who sounded all nice need to go to him. So you got to compromise, and you got to be smart about it, and you got to use a little bit of patience and tactics. And it can be done as long as you use some of these calls that we're going over today. All right, welcome back to the last part of episode 2. Let's just do a recap of what we are trying to accomplish today, which is learn some basic calls. So we went over yelp, which let's go over one more time. So there's 2 ways. You can hold it, in your palm as such, or my method is I hold it by the top part here and I run it with my other hand. Okay, I feel like I have a little bit more control, but that's the two ways. So let's see how it sounds. Remember, it's all about that cadence. The tone is where you can change, or you can space it out a little bit. And the yelp is anywhere from 6 to 8 notes. All right. All right. And you want to space those calls out because you don't want to over exceed the boundaries of the gobbler trying to answer you. So space it out. Do your run. Do a yelp. And if he answers, right? Like, so let's say we are out hunting and we don't know where he's at. We do our basic yelp. He responds. And now we're going to move towards him and try to close that gap a little bit more. We'll move up a couple 100 yards and we'll stop. We'll try to be silent and we'll try to be still as possible. We're looking for any kind of movement whatsoever. And if we don't see anything, that's where the box call comes back into play. So here we go again. Try to get that gobbler amped up, right? We're trying to get him to respond and try to figure out where he's at so we can close that gap and hopefully get close enough to where we can call him the rest of the way. And that's what we're trying to do with that yelp. The second thing is the cut. And these are the two most useful calls that I can think of without going into minute details with all the other calls that you can learn. So you're going to have to probably get with somebody that knows how to call or just look it up online. So again, for my cuts or my clucks, all you do, you just rest your hand onto the box, just like so. The meaty portion, and then you're just gonna tap. I'm holding it in position with my thumb. That's sort of my backstop, but the meaty portion is what gives it that give. And that's how you can cut so fast. Remember, we talked about the firmness of that muscle compared to relaxing it. It's going to give it a different tone. And where you hit the box lid, it's going to also change the tone. Boom, right? Trying to fire that dude up so much, get him amped up, and let him know, like, hey, I am a fired up hen. You need to come to me. I'm right here. And just pray that that gobbler comes strutting right in there. You know, that's the goal. And then you take your shot and you take your pictures and you prize home and you enjoy the ride, right? So remember, don't go full blown dynamite when you got a grenade, okay? What I mean by that is you start with your yelps, you start quiet, and you amp it up if you don't get any response. If you don't get any response, just move and keep doing that process over and over and over, using that box call to get your range as far out there as you can. And once you hear that gobble, you move to it and you close that distance and you get to a good spot and you hold tight and you start getting him amped up with those cuts and those clucks or something like that. Okay, so that's how you use those two on a box call. Good luck, and I hope you enjoyed this episode 2. Stay tuned for episode 3. We're going to go over the pot and peg, strikers, right? Striker and slate. So stay tuned for that.